And now for our feature presentation.
You're listening to the JB and Goldwater Show. Live, loud, and online.
Puts it up. Whoa! There goes Davis. Oh my God! Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. American Soul is finally the one. American Soul has won the Triple Crown. And Bonds hit play high. It's a dig. It is out of here. High fly ball into right field. She is gone. Unbelievable! A home run for Gibson, and the Tigers have won the game 5-4. I don't believe what I just saw.
Here are your hosts, Jamie Bradford and Darren Goldwater.
All right, greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and driven by our friends and yours at Stokes Volkswagen. Check them out at stokesvw.com. Check us out at jbandgoldwatershow.com. We're here till 2 o'clock this afternoon. That is Darren to my left. I'm Jamie, and you can watch us on the Twitter. You can watch us on the YouTube. You can watch us on the Facebook, and you can watch us on the Periscope, and it's all free. You can also listen to us on the Podbean app. That's also free. All that is available on our website at jbandgoldwatershow.com, across all social media platforms at JB and Goldwater. I am at Sports Radio JB, and he is at Darren Goldwater. And our phone number, 843-321-8893. If you'd like to send us a text, make a comment, whatever it is, you can also do that on Twitter, on Facebook, in the chat room, on the Podbean app, and much, much more. Darren, coming up on our program here, we do have Will Muschamp's press conference at 12:30, although we won't be able to air it live. Let me give you a little inside backstory to this. So, obviously, if you ever listened to my program when I was on ESPN, I would air them live every Tuesday. That is because there was a public stream. Although Darren and I are invited to be a part of the Zoom press conference because we are members of the media, it is not advised from the University of South Carolina to air a private Zoom conference publicly.
Well, it's also illegal.
Yeah. So
not advised, and because we're not the official rights holder,
right.
It is not legal.
Right.
So we won't.
So we're not doing that out of respect for Steve Fink and the University of South Carolina. But as that press conference begins at 12:30 and commences right around probably 1 o'clock, a bunch of what Will says we will discuss. We do have an open line of communication, so we are able to see what's going on in there, and we'll get a lot of that out to you. We do have Perry Orth at 1 o'clock today as well. The former quarterback of the Gamecocks will give his thoughts on the current quarterback of the Gamecocks and the overall performance, and we'll look ahead to Florida and Carolina on Saturday afternoon down in the Swamp. We also have some more college football to get out to you, some news including Notre Dame. We got some Lady Gamecocks basketball news, really good news for them. We'll get into the NFL, obviously a game last night. There is a new champion in the NHL. We all know that Tampa Bay won that, so congratulations to them. Certainly the NBA Finals starts tonight. The NBA plays year-round, annually, and it never, ever, 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 ever ends.
Except in a pandemic, it pauses.
Oh, yeah, it pauses in a pandemic. And Deion Sanders, we'll tell you what Neon Deion, prime time, is doing at Jackson State, and much, much more here on our program. But that graphic is appropriate, Darren, under pressure with Will Muschamp's face on it. And so we'll kind of lead off with that here and then move on. By the way, we will talk about Mike Leach today. Is Mike Leach the next Steve Spurrier in the SEC? And I'll explain to you what I mean by that coming up here in just a little bit. But, Look, let me let me preface this conversation with a quick line here. I think that all of you should probably know. I privately and publicly support Will Muschamp, and I have no shame in saying that.
No, very much so you do. Very, very much so.
I have no shame in saying that. And you know what? I wish more people in this world would just stand up and say what they believe in instead of, hearing things and then, saying that basically. But I also see what a lot of you see, and they haven't won much. It's been really bad. It's been really bad. And I said yesterday, and I'm gonna say it again. I don't think this football team has learned how to win, and I think that's a big problem. I do think that there's some talent there, and I think it's frustrating, Darren, for the fan base to see that only a little while back, Carolina had climbed the ladder. There was a time, 7-8 years ago where they were competing for the SEC East every year and had a chance to win a national championship, and that's true. Because had they not dropped a game here and there in all those years, they would have had a chance to go to play for a national championship. And, of course, the SEC championship. That's long gone,
Mm-hmm.
and we all know that. And so, it is with Will Muschamp running the football program at South Carolina. And, look, there's a bunch that you can bundle into this conversation, Darren. And so let's go ahead and bundle it in there. Number one, if you're a South Carolina fan, let's just be honest. It eats at them as much as it does knowing that your own program isn't winning, to know that the program that you despise the most is winning as much as anybody in the sport, and that is Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to two hated rivals like these, I don't know that there is a larger gap between two other rivals in the country right now than Clemson and South Carolina.
No, it's true. Because if you want to talk rivalries and you
like
can
a true rivalry.
Right. You can go Auburn, Alabama. You can go Michigan, Ohio State if you want to go up to the Big Ten. You can go
maybe Florida State. That might be comparable right now.
Yeah, but it's not like Florida's winning or competing for national championships year in and year out.
Right.
Maybe they are this year. Maybe.
Right.
Great
point.
But the gap between Michigan and Ohio State is not nearly as wide as the gap between Clemson and South Carolina. Same with Auburn and Alabama. Same with Florida and Florida State at the moment. And I learned quickly when I moved down here in 2002 how passionate the Gamecock fan base was, and the deeply rooted passion is really the right word for it, because even when things aren't going well, you're going to put 80,000 people, if you're allowed to, in that stadium, and you're going to have a fan base that, while frustrated and loudly frustrated, they're still going to support, and they're still going to make their feelings heard. They're not just going to tuck their tails and run or go underground because things aren't working out well and not go to the stadium. That's not what this fan base is about. It's much more proud than that. Mm-hmm. So when you're a proud fan base and things aren't going well and you've got your arch rival competing for championships and you're nowhere near that, pressure can mount. And right now, I think rightfully so, the heat's on in Columbia.
Absolutely, it is. You have that. You have the fact that obviously before Muschamp arrived, and I know that the end of Steve Spurrier's career was nothing to write home about at all, but Carolina had kind of climbed the mountain, and they were up there. They were near the peak. They could almost see over that thing, and then more recently. And I know that the Muschamp hire was questioned because of his lack of success at Florida. And so that's obviously a part of this as well. But more recently, you look around at some of the hires that have been made, and you don't have to look any further west than the state of Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
Because over the last couple of years in the offseason, there have been fans that pull for South Carolina who have said those two names a lot. What about a Lane Kiffin at South Carolina? What about a Mike Leach at South Carolina? And, of course, that never happened for a multitude of reasons. And I know that Lane Kiffin opened with a loss against Florida this weekend, but, it appeared on TV like, oh, he's probably the right hire there. They're going to be probably pretty good, and they're going to get better as the year goes on. And clearly, Mike Leach took the Bulldogs to Death Valley and did things we've never seen before in this conference, and they won against LSU. So, and you add all that into the fact that Carolina went 4-8 last year, and they came off of a 28-0 shutout loss against Virginia in a bowl game that was just deflating to the fans. And then they open with that loss to North Carolina, and you beat Georgia, and then somehow the rest of the way in you can't win a game. I mean, there's a lot that is circling in the minds of South Carolina football fans as to why there is no hope for the future. And so I'm not going to sit here and try to defend any of that because I can't. I don't have the answers. I actually understand completely what people are saying and why they're frustrated. Now, I defend Will Muschamp because I like Will Muschamp. I think he's a good football coach, but I agree with everybody. Mm-hmm. He can be great Sunday through Friday. But unless you win on Saturdays, like Spurrier always said, it's all about winning and losing. It doesn't really matter what you do the rest of the time. If you win, you're fine. If you lose, you're not. Until he starts winning, my defense means nothing, and I totally understand that. So they got to find ways to win, and I don't think that they know how to win. And I'll say this, Darren, and we've all heard everything. I've heard people say, look, this year with the pandemic coming into the season, Will was probably fine. It'd really have to go off the rails for him to not be here. I've heard people say, look, because of the pandemic, because of the buyout, which I think is right around $13 million right now, he could go 0-10, and you know what? They're still going to bring him back. Some people don't like Ray Tanner, so they blame him for that too. So when you hear those things, and then you start 0-1 against, which we knew this was going to be a close game. Mm-hmm. This is a team that's been on the rise in Tennessee, but it doesn't matter. They lost. A lot of those loud voices are hopping back out again, and I understand that. And there's no reason to expect them to go beat Florida in the swamp. Now, they could, because this year's has been really weird, and it could happen, but I wouldn't expect that to happen, and I don't expect anybody else to expect that to happen. But, Darren, what if, and hear me out here, because, again, if anybody's ever listened ever to me in 6 years of being on air, you know where I stand. I'm an optimist through and through. I don't ever look at a glass and say, that's half empty. Never. I never have, never will. But considering everything I just said, if they go 0-2 and something really strange happens in Nashville in week 3 and they go 0-3, I don't think that this leash is as long as people think it is. And I hope that fans aren't pulling for that to happen just so there's a change. Mm-hmm. Because that's a terrible mindset. And you don't need to be a fan of anybody if you pull for them to lose for whatever your reason is. If that happened, I don't think that leash is long at all. I think there's options on that staff where Ray Tanner could walk in and say, you know what, we'll figure out the buyout, but this just ain't working. Mm-hmm. Because this roster is better. This roster is better than it was last year. It's better than it was the year before. And it's better than it was the year they won 9 games under Will Muschamp. So why aren't you winning on Saturdays? And that's the question that nobody seems to be able to answer. And so, now I don't think that'll happen. But if it did, I don't think the leash is that long. And again, I say all this, and I hope everybody understands I fully support the head football coach at South Carolina. Yes, I am a fan, but I do have a job to do around here, and that's be honest with everybody. And I support him, and I think that he should be the coach. And I don't think the fans right now, Darren, who are saying, well, we should fire Will Muschamp. No. That you shouldn't fire Will Muschamp right now. You're 1 game into the season. No. But if you look up in 2 or 3 weeks and you're 0-3 or 4, how are you going to tell anybody to be quiet when they say something like that?
Right. So you put that now on the shoulders of the coaching staff. It's not like they can tell you all they want that they don't read and they don't listen, but that's crap. They do. They hear this stuff. There's more pressure within that football building than there is outside of that football building. So as much anger and frustration is in the fan base, I assure you it is heightened once you get inside those walls. And with that, how can this coaching staff block that out or harness it, one of the two, to produce a better product on the field? And what does that product look like? How do you judge it when you go down to Florida after watching what Florida did couple days ago? How do you judge progress this week? How do you judge it next week against Vanderbilt? What's the standard here? And the problem is when you start going back over the last 5 years, the patterns of, as you've alluded to, not knowing how to win, being in position to win and then not finding a way to do that.
Do it, yeah.
That's where it becomes the most frustrating, because you see it. You see how close you can get, and then with each misstep, once you're in position and can't pull it off, it just the frustration mounts, and you start wondering, well, are we ever going to get to this point? And if that's the mindset now, and I think it's fair to say it is, are we ever going to get to the point where we can figure out how to win those close games when we're in a position to do it? Then every other time now that it happens again, it's just another dagger, and it's really hard to continue to defend when, the recruits are coming in, the recruits are verbally committed or signed, and it looks good. Like you said, you could be great Sunday to Friday. You got to coach on Saturday.
Yeah. And on Saturday, sometimes you have beers up there at the Dog and Duck as well, and they're pretty frosty, especially with the slate of games coming this weekend.
Yes, that's very true. Oh, that worked. I see. I wasn't even expecting that to work with some of the issues I'm having. But it was National Drink Beer Day yesterday, so I went and had a beer that I'd never had before, and it was very good. And I don't remember which one it was. Blackbeard something? But anyway, Dog and Duck, 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry here in Mount Pleasant.
Well, and I'll tell you what else you don't want to have. So let's compare something real quick. The teams in Spurrier's heyday at South Carolina knew how to win.
Mm-hmm.
All right, they knew how to win. There were players that knew how to win, natural leaders on those teams. They were also just really good football players.
I'll ask you this on that thought. Is it the players that knew how to win, or is it Steve Spurrier
that knew how to win?
That's
where I was going with this. But I was preferencing my comment by saying there was a bunch of great players there. There were guys who understood how to win. You can name off all the first rounders you want to, but obviously it starts with guys like Connor Shaw. And when your quarterback knows how to get it done, most of the time your team is going to fall in line with him. But at the same time, you had a coach who was used to winning football games his whole career. And forget what happened in Washington and things like that. And early on in his tenure at South Carolina, I know that there were some losses, but they just weren't as talented yet. Steve Spurrier still won big games starting year one and all the way through until 2015. All right, so this was a guy who clearly knew how to win, and for the most part, his football team followed in his footsteps, and they were able to do that, kind of took on his personality. And so, the fear is with the fans, and let's remember now, too, let's remember this. Will Muschamp has been involved in a lot of winning programs in his career. The dude has a national championship ring, okay? He's got a bunch of SEC championship rings. I mean, he's done this a while. But as a head coach, he's only had 2 real successful seasons, one at Florida and one at South Carolina, and they won those 9 games in year 2, and he won 11 games in year 2 in the Swamp. So year 2 has been a pretty good year for him as a head coach. But you have to wonder a little bit, if the players can feel some of that pressure at times as the season unfolds under Coach Muschamp. And I don't know the answer to that question. I really don't. I do believe that Will Muschamp is a winner, but until you're in a program like that, you don't really know how the personality of the football team is if that personality of the football team is coming from the head coach. Here's what you don't want to happen, Darren. This is what you don't want to happen. And I referenced worst case scenario a second ago where they go and lose this week in the Swamp, if that happens, and then somehow the wheels really come off. Hey, Vanderbilt only lost by 5 points to A&M. Is Vanderbilt better than we think? I personally don't think so. I think A&M just had a sleeper of the day.
It was a weird game.
But if the wheels really fall off and you lose in Nashville and you're 0-3, and what you don't want to happen is the same type of situation, although different, the same type of situation as to back when Steve Spurrier said, I'll probably be here for 2 or 3 more years. Because as soon as he said that, players shut down, recruits decommitted, and you could just feel the air in the balloon leaking quickly in Columbia. And if you have a similar situation of, look, they're 0-3 with a loss to Vanderbilt, who wasn't even expected to win a game this year, there's no way in my mind that same feeling would not take over the locker room. You'll be able to feel it. You'll be able to feel that. And that is the absolute worst case scenario. Now, what's the best case scenario? Clearly, they bounce back and find a way to win in the Swamp, which a hell of a lot easier said than done at this point in time. But The way this season's gone, who the hell knows? Although at this point in time, I'm not picking them to. Hopefully here in a little bit, maybe Will Muschamp surprises everybody today with some really good news on Izzy McQuamu, and hey, who knows? Maybe Jalen Brooks, and that gives them a little shot of energy. I don't know. But best case scenario is you go win that game. The thing about that, though, is they also went to Athens last year and beat Georgia, and that was their second win in a row because they had just ended a 5-game losing streak against Kentucky. And you thought, all right, they're 3-3. They figured it out. Okay, no problem. No problem. Last year, kind of a quirky year. Didn't end well. Didn't start well. But we figured it out. We're going to finish the year decently against this schedule, somewhere around 500. All right. And they didn't win a game the rest of the year, really. I mean, they won one more, and that was it.
Yeah.
So winning in the Swamp doesn't guarantee you anything either because you still got 8 more games in the SEC. This is a critical time, Darren, and I'm going to tell you what. These next 2 weeks, that little graphic you've got up on the screen here, under pressure, it's there, it's there, but I hope it hasn't seeped into that locker room, into the staff, or into the players.
And that's where the comparison is legit. Spurrier came out and said, probably 2-3 more years. This doesn't need to be said. If things go really sideways at Florida, and if that is then compounded with somehow a loss to Vanderbilt, which, look, we can sit here and say that's unlikely. It is unlikely. It's also not out of the realm of possibility at all.
No,
so
nothing is.
No. So at that point, the fan base understands, the coaching staff understands, the players understand. All right, we have a problem here, and the problem, unless we figure out a way to turn this thing around immediately, this problem isn't going away. It doesn't need to be said that there's only a couple years left because it's understood, and it may not be a couple of years. It may be sooner than that. And once that gets into the locker room, it doesn't just get into the locker room. It gets into Tennessee's recruiting when they come into South Carolina and recruit. And it gets into guys who are verbally committed, but they're still going to be hotly pursued by whoever. And they can go into that living room and say, listen, you see how it's going in Columbia. I'm not saying that it's going to end, but it's probably going to end. And the spiral is rapid at that point.
Yeah.
And you either have to turn the ship around or manually fix that. And unfortunately for the Gamecocks, because of the way Saturday happened, because there was a chance to win, because there were a couple mistakes here and there that you can point to and say, look, if that ball bounced a different way, if that pick six didn't happen, if they went for it on 4th down, maybe there is a win there. Because there are just a couple plays that you can point to, there are more questions because of that. And you want to see progress.
Yeah.
And then again, I circle back to how do we see progress? How do we define progress Saturday at noon?
Yeah, I mean, this team just has to get better. Last year's team didn't. This team's going to have to get better. And how do you define that? You know, we might start to get some of those answers here shortly. Maybe Perry Orth has some of those answers coming up at 1 o'clock, but no doubt about it. This is a really critical time. I hate to say it, but in the career of Will Muschamp, I mean, I don't think it's over at all. Again, I support him, but these next couple of weeks, and I know that the Swamp this is going to be a bear for South Carolina. You're right. How do you define that? If they go down there and get boat raced, that's not good.
No.
And I don't care that they're ranked number 3 in the country. If they go down there and get run out of the Swamp, I mean, just run out of the building, I'm telling you, that's not good.
No. Because Vanderbilt didn't get run out of the building by Texas A&M.
Right.
Mississippi State surely didn't get run out of the building by LSU.
No.
Ole Miss didn't get run out of the building by Florida.
Well, look, let's be honest. Missouri really didn't get run out of the building against Alabama. I mean, they scored late. I mean, you know that. But I think they'll compete, and we'll see. But what you just said, and we'll move on here real quickly before we go to break. There's been a lot, and that's where a lot of these fans are frustrated, and I understand it. There's been a lot of these games lately where it's, well, if it would have bounced a different way, we could have won the game. I mean, I've said multiple times over the summer, as leading into the season, hey, look, 2 plays last year in Carolina was 6-6, but you know what? It didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
2 plays on Saturday night, Carolina wins, but you know what? It didn't happen, and people are tired of it, and
right.
I get it, and I understand that, and they have every right to say that, and I'm not trying to defend that. I just think it's still too early, but the next couple of weeks, picture might be a little bit clearer. It was pretty clear last night that the Chiefs were better than the Ravens, 34-20. The final score there. You have to excuse my voice still, by the way. I'm still in football season mode. It should be better tomorrow. Happens every year. Pat Mahomes, 31-42 for 385 and 4 touchdowns. And the Chiefs stay undefeated at 3-0. The Ravens drop to 2-1, but it was neat to see those two quarterbacks go up against each other last night. Although Lamar Jackson did not even throw for over 100 yards, 15 of 28 for 97 yards, Darren. It was a defensive masterpiece by Kansas City.
I'll say this. Yeah, it was a defensive masterpiece. Pat Mahomes had this game circled. He basically said it because it's a win here is like 2 wins. It's like a win for the playoffs also, because it's pretty likely that these are the 2 teams or 2 of the teams in the race for the top seed in the AFC. So a win here is kind of like 2 games. Pat Mahomes is playing a different game than everybody else is playing.
Yeah.
His vision, his ability to keep a play alive and then I say chuck it or heave it, but for him, it's not. He can put the ball on a dime, and we've seen this enough now. This isn't luck or anything. What this guy is able to do is masterful. I mean, in my time watching the league, I have trouble comparing it to anything that I've seen, especially with the length at which he's done this. This isn't a fluke. This is now happening for the 3rd straight year. What he can do is mind-blowing, and how do you stop it? The Ravens have one of the better defenses. They had no idea how to stop it.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna take to slow him down. I really don't.
Yeah, no doubt. He is special, man. Pat Mahomes and Russell Wilson right now, certainly maybe the 2 best quarterbacks in the sport, if that's debatable. I don't think it is. 12:27 here on a Tuesday afternoon, DV's Cheesesteaks. It's not debatable about this. It is Charleston's choice for the top #1, tastiest, juiciest, biggest, best cheesesteak in town. dbscheesesteaks.com. That's where you can find the entire menu, dbscheesesteaks.com. Don't forget the Boardwalk Fries, and remember, any delivery app that you have available, pick it up, order it, they deliver it. DB's in Avondale, in West Ashley, Charleston's choice #1, DB's Cheesesteaks. All right, we will hit a quick timeout. We will preview the Major League Baseball postseason here coming up in just a little bit. How about Deion Sanders, what he's trying to accomplish down at Jackson State, and he's throwing out the offers, folks. We'll tell you about that here in a little bit as well. Perry Orth is set to join us in about 30 minutes on what he saw this past weekend, Colin Hill, and what we might see in the Swamp this coming weekend. And Dabo Sweeney, speaking with the media today, was also asked about politics and gave a very lengthy answer on that. We'll get that up to you here in just a little bit as well, and much, much more. Some interesting game lines. Didn't even get to them yesterday. Going to try to squeeze those in this afternoon as well. So hang tight. Will Muschamp's press conference set to start here in a moment. We'll update you on that and much, much more on the other side of this break. You're listening to the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. Every 2020 Tiguan S, our best-selling third-row SUV, is $3,500 off plus 0 APR for 72 months. But wait, there's more. With $299 down, you can own the Tiguan S for just $299 per month for 72 months at 0% APR. Not just one at this price, over 22 Tiguans to choose from. All $3,500 off plus 0 APR for 72 months and $299 down, $299 per month. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, we are so desperate for used cars that we'll take any trade in any condition, running or not. We need your trade more, so we'll flat out give you more. And don't worry about your credit. Our lenders are more lenient than ever. So if you're interested in saving $3,500 on a new Volkswagen Tiguan S and owning it for $299 down, $299 per month, come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or StokesVW.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW. Plus tax. Tag includes $3.99.50 closing fee. Offer subject to lender approval. Expires month end.
DB's Cheesesteaks, the tastiest, juiciest, and now award-winning cheesesteaks in the Low Country. DB's Cheesesteaks delivers, and not just in quality. Download DoorDash, Uber Eats, or your delivery app of choice and have it dropped off at your doorstep. Original chicken, buffalo chicken, even pizza cheesesteaks, not to mention incredible cheeseburgers, massive hot dogs, and dynamite hoagies. It's all there for you and your family. DB's Cheesesteaks in West Ashley. dbscheesesteaks.com.
Hey guys, it's Darren, just here to tell you about our good friends over at Dog and Duck. They've got 3 locations, one in Bell Hall, one in Park West, and one, the new one, out on Clements Ferry. I can tell you from personal experience, it's the only restaurant in town that I've been to since this whole place has reopened. Everything is socially distant, very comfortable, and to top it all off, great selection of rotating craft beers, food specials every day, family meals. If you don't want to go in, you can order it and have some curbside pickup as well. Dog and Duck, 3 locations, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
Now, hear this.
Who the hell is that?
The JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
All right, 12:31. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online here on a Tuesday afternoon. Second to last day in the month of September. Big time weather expected later on this evening here in the Low Country, so be careful out there. But after that, the next few days are going to be beautiful. Low 70s, sunny, Darren. So football weather is certainly in the air. 843-321-8893. That's our phone number, and the phone lines are open. And you can give us a call or you can shoot us a text, and we'd love to have you be a part of our program. Will Muschamp meeting with the media right now. We'll get you some updates here in just a few moments. You know, Jay Phillips on 107.5 The Game in Columbia today asked a question. It was a poll question, basically kind of about the state of the program.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really getting into that, but I was just looking over some of the responses on Twitter, and somebody had asked Jay. They said, "Is South Carolina's recruiting overrated? Is South Carolina coaching not developing the recruits to reach their potential? Is South Carolina game day prep substandard?" Which I don't know what that even means. And Tim Frisbee responded, and here's his response. And there's one thing in here that I really actually like what he said. So South Carolina recruiting is not overrated, and he's right about that. Yes, there are developmental questions, especially as it pertains to 4- and 5-star recruits and getting them on the field. But let's remember that Clowney did not start either in his freshman year. And this is what I like. He said, "I think the staff needs to make adjustments faster. Sometimes halftime is too late." And I really like that because we talked to Wes Mitchell about that yesterday. And, you know, we were both talking about Zach Pickens and Jordan Birch going, dude, these guys need to play. I mean, Deshaun Fenwick needs to play. I mean, these guys, when they were on the field, they were really good. Why did they not play more? Maybe they'll play more this week. I don't know. But it was certainly good to see somebody with a little bit of sense there who said the same thing that we have, and we'll get Perry's take on that coming up here in just a little bit. Again, you got to forgive me. My voice is just really losing it here.
It's tough, though. I mean, when you go and you haven't used it, I used this example yesterday a little bit. I feel for you as a play-by-play guy when you go a couple of months in that off season in the summer and you haven't done anything, and you go call your first football game, you're done. You're going to have a scratchy voice until it comes back and bounces back. And unfortunately for you, you've got to talk for 2 hours a day. So it's not like you get to just give it a breather.
At least it's not 3 like it used to be.
There you go.
All right, here are some updates from Will Muschamp. Izzy McQuamu and Jamar Brown moving around well today. However, they are still day-to-day going into the game in Gainesville. This, though, is not good news. Linebacker Sherrod Green has fractured his hip, and he will be out 4 to 6 weeks. So Carolina will not be moving forward with one of their starting linebackers, Sherrod Green. But we'll see if Izzy McQuamu is able to get on the field this week, and Jamar Brown, who did miss last week's ball game as well. Also, Alex Huntley out of Hammond, who played for Eric Kimry, he's expected to miss this week's game again, but did miss last week's game too. But Coach Muschamp said hoping to have him back next week for the Vanderbilt game in Nashville. So we'll see how that unfolds. But so some so news and some not good news right now coming out of Columbia on the injury front.
So we know the green news is not a positive development, but you hope that someone can step up and fill those shoes. Muschamp, I wonder how forthcoming he's going to be. He said just a moment ago, got to play better on the right side of the offensive line. All positions on the line are open. Got to run the ball better. So, I mean, these are very generic things that so far that are pretty much expected from a coach's press conference after a loss like that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm a little surprised because, I mean, they've had 8 weeks to prep for the season, and we've heard all along they've got about 8 or 9 offensive linemen, and, and this past weekend they weren't able to find 5 of them to go out there and play consistent throughout the ball game. I wouldn't be shocked to see Turntine in there at left tackle and then just move Dylan Lonham back to right tackle. But we'll see. We'll see how that unfolds. Up in the upstate today, Dabo Swinney has also met with the media. And, although here's the thing with Coach Swinney right now, there's just not a ton to talk about when it comes to his football team. I mean, it's a well-oiled machine, and even when they have bad days, they're better than pretty much everyone else's.
That's right.
Good days. But he was also, asked about what is going on politically in the country and wearing patches on the uniforms and things like that, Darren, to support some of the causes that are out there, like Black Lives Matter and things like that.
Specifically, that's what was asked of him.
That was a specific question today. Right. And I've seen already fans mad at reporters for asking that question. Well, look, I know that it's not a football-related question when it comes to the X's and O's of the game. And to be honest with you, if I was standing there, I wouldn't probably be asking those questions either because in my mind, I like to think about what happens on the field and the X's and O's. That's just me. But to defend whomever asks this question, when you're paid $9+ million a year, you can be asked pretty much anything, and it's your choice to answer it or not. Here's his response. Quote, "I'm on board with a lot of messages. I'm not on board with political organizations, and that's a different question. I'm apolitical. To me, that's divisive. I've voted Democrat. I've voted Republican. I've voted independent. I've written in people just because I didn't like anybody that was running." Good for him. "So I just wrote to somebody that I liked. I've been voting since I was 18. So I'm very political. So I'm very apolitical when it comes to organizations. I don't really support any organizations. I support common sense and causes. I would refer back to what I said this summer. Black lives more than matter. Black lives are worthy. They equally matter. And this is no different. I just don't support political organizations. Simple as that. From any facet or form. Absolutely, Black lives matter. That's common sense. I've lived my whole life making sure that that's something that hopefully my actions have shown, not something that I just said." And that's Dabo Swinney. I think about an hour ago is when he that kind of came out. That's tough because people who do believe in some of these political organizations will read into that and they'll probably come up with a different opinion of it than somebody that doesn't. So here we go. Everybody's going to debate this going into a ball game this week. But at the end of the day, does his football team believe him? That's all that matters to me. And
it seems like everything is fine within those walls, within that locker room. After this went down before the season, there were questions, and rightfully so, and he addressed those questions. The problem is when you address it like this, I don't support political organizations. I think if you go into the backstory of Black Lives Matter, I mean, is it a political organization? I don't know if it's fair to characterize it like that. There are many who would, but there are also many who would not. So Look, it's one of those things where it becomes a talking point because of where we are in this country.
Yeah, because it's a very sensationalized moment.
Yes, there's a debate tonight, so there are more questions on the top of people's minds.
Everybody's like, "What time's that debate on?" 9. I'm going to bed at 8:59.
Absolutely. I'm curious.
I'll be asleep at 8:59.
Curious to see what the ratings are going to be on that debate. By the way, if you go to mybookie.ag, there's tons of prop bets on the debate itself. So if you want to have some fun, you just go ahead and bet the debate, and then watching it might be a little bit more entertaining.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
have a drink.
Yeah, I'm giving you options here. I'm just giving you options. If you want to make some money or lose some money watching the debate, go ahead. It's out there for you. But I get why the question's asked. It may be smarter at this point for Dabo to just say, "Listen, I've addressed all of this," and not go into lengthy.
Yeah, you go back 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, 10 weeks ago. I'm with you there. You know, but credit to him for answering it, because, like you just said a minute ago, when people ask that question, there's some people that think, and it doesn't. This is a question about Black Lives Matter. It doesn't really matter what the organization is. What matters is who's asking the question and how they view it based on how they're going to respond to your response or write about your response, or the person that hears your response, like a me or you or whomever out there, what they think about it, and then that's how they're going to respond, because there are people who've seen the movement, which is one thing.
Right.
And then there's people who have hijacked the movement.
Right.
And done other things with it. Which, by the way, did I tell you what happened to me on Sunday morning? Not to get into politics, because I was totally out of. Did I tell you what happened to me Sunday morning? I didn't tell you this.
No.
Well, maybe you already know where I'm going with this.
I would imagine we're along the same thought process here, but I have no idea what happened to you.
When I tell you where I went, you might have a hunch as to what I encountered. So I woke up Sunday morning. I didn't get home until about 2:00 Saturday night from Columbia, and I wake up Sunday morning, and I was really tired. I wasn't hungover. I was tired. And I looked at my wife, and I said, "Let's take the girls and go somewhere and eat lunch." And she was like, "Okay." I said, "Let's just get them out. Let's go have a picnic somewhere."
All right.
Get them outside somewhere where they can run around, and we don't have to really monitor them a whole lot.
Yeah. Self-contained outdoor
Something,
area.
Yeah, outside of the backyard in the neighborhood. So I said, "Well, let's go down to the Battery."
How'd that go for you?
So we got down there about 10:30, and I pulled up, and I saw a bunch of cops because we'd come from the other side, and I was like, "Uh-oh, something's going on."
Right.
And I didn't see what was going on the riverside, or the corner of the Ashley River and the harbor. And when I got out of the car, I looked over and I saw a Black Lives Matter true organization over here with a lady with a megaphone yelling 4-letter words unbelievably loud with children around. And that, oh my God, I wanted to puke.
Right.
And then on this side, I saw a group of folks standing there with Confederate flags. And I thought, this couldn't be any worse. So
I chose the wrong place to take the family.
I looked at Carrie. I was like, oh my God. I literally just wanted to have a relaxing Sunday. So we would go walking through the park to try to get away from it, to go let the kids run around. Then we're going to throw out a blanket and eat some lunch, and talk to a really sweet lady. And she couldn't have been any nicer.
Right.
She said, "Yeah, it's just ridiculous." She said, "It happens every Sunday." I said, "You're kidding me."
Every Sunday.
Every Sunday. These two groups are down there. They know each other's names down there. They just yell back and forth across the street at each other. And all the cops monitor this, and they just walk around and make sure nothing bad happens. And I said, I don't care about what any of them think about anything.
Right.
How do they literally wake up on Sunday morning and think this is what I want to do with my life? Like, how do you live this miserably? And she said, "You know what? I've started to bring my dog out here on Sundays because it's humorous to me." She said, "I just laugh at them." Because neither one of them know what they're talking about when they yell at each other. Because it's so far out there. Like what they're saying is so far out there. And I thought, wow, this is great. So we talked about we sat around for another 30 minutes. I couldn't take it anymore. The megaphone kept getting louder and louder. People were driving by and yelling at each other. I said, we got to go.
No, you got to have the right. If you want to take your dog down there because it's humorous, you better have the right attitude.
Oh, she totally did. She was like this. She was like, honestly, this was just funny it's just funny to sit here and watch them. She's like, they're not violent. They just want to yell at each other. And I was like, well, I'm out of here. Have yourselves a nice day. But anyways, Dabo had to answer that, so we'll see. Real quick here, update from Will Muschamp. The NCAA has not given any kind of timeline on Jalen Brooks' appeal. Each party is working through the process. So he is still not eligible. We'll see if he's eligible by the end of the week, but as of now, he is not cleared to play coming up this weekend. 843-321-8893. That is our phone number. It's also our text line. I tell you what, though, Darren, in football, and this story is going to begin to get more and more and more traction, and that is the hire of Deion Sanders at Jackson State. And here's why. Because Deion Sanders truly believes that he can go to Jackson State and start kicking some rear end. And he has, if you saw the report last week, apparently his staff's going to have like a bunch of NFL Hall of Famers on it, like Warren Sapp and others.
That was refuted immediately, and I have not seen an update from anyone giving other ideas, but Deion came out and refuted that immediately. T.O. was Terrell Owens.
Yeah,
was reportedly like the receivers coach. He said that's not true. I haven't seen a truthful one either, though. So
right.
I don't. The truth is somewhere in there. I don't know where it is.
And that's the thing, is because since then I've seen a lot of this as well, where no, none of that's true. And then I've seen some people say, actually, he has spoken to this guy, and this guy. And I think Warren Sapp is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not true that they've been hired. I don't even know that he has a budget yet to hire them with. However, this apparently is true, that he's throwing out offers left and right to some of the best players in the country. And according to 24/7 Sports, he's got one out to 5-star offensive lineman Amarius Mims, who's the second-ranked offensive tackle in the country, and he's being recruited by Bama, Tennessee, Georgia, Auburn, Oklahoma, Florida State, and many, many more. And now Deion's getting in on the action. He's also in on 4-star wide receiver Deion Smith, who's committed to LSU. He's the number 1 ranked recruit in the state of Mississippi. Now, here's an interesting question for you. We all know that Lane Kiffin has a good offense. We all know that Mike Leach has a pretty good offense himself. How about if Deion Sanders was able to reel in the top wideout from the state of Mississippi over those two guys with no head coaching experience at the collegiate level?
And keep in mind, there's a quarterback who's been offered, who's committed somewhere else by the name of Sanders, his son.
Yeah,
and that was the
Shadir.
first. Yeah, that was the first offer that Deion put out there.
And he's going to FAU, coached by Willie Taggart
at the moment.
Why would you go to FAU? I know it's a different level of football, but why would you go get coached by Willie Taggart when you can be coached by Deion? And I guarantee you, whoever's quarterback's coach is going to be pretty good.
And look, it's your dad at that point, so obviously Deion wants his son there. I don't know if his son wants to play for his father. That I don't know the kid.
Yeah.
However, I'll say this. Jackson State has led the FCS in attendance for the last few years. They put like 30,000 people in there. Do you know who the most famous alum of Jackson State is? Football? I didn't realize this till I was putting together this graphic this morning. Walter Payton played there.
Wow, I did not know that.
Nope, neither did I until this morning.
Holy
Walter
moly.
Sweetness played at Jackson State before playing for the Bears.
Sweetness in primetime, 2 of the legends in the history of the sport. Wow, holy moly.
Yep.
He's also reached out to 3-star wide receiver Brandon Buckhalter, Darren, who's committed to Mississippi State, and Mike Leach. He's talked with 4-star offensive lineman Tyler Booker, borderline 5-star prospect. He plays down in Florida at IMG Academy. Originally from Connecticut, he's being recruited by everybody in the country. Another LSU commitment, 4-star corner Kamari Rogers, is now considering Jackson State now that Deion has reached out to this young man, the number 1 ranked junior in the state of Mississippi. Defensive end Jamori Robinson, expected to be a top player once he is ranked by 24/7 Sports. Auburn and others in on him. 3-star corner Jadarius Perkins, who's committed to Oregon. 5-star offensive lineman Mason Smith. 4-star athlete Kadarius Callaway, who's committed to Alabama. And, of course, his son is also on this list, and many, many more. So, but hold on. But let me ask you this. He's in the state of Mississippi.
Yeah.
Can Deion Sanders out-recruit Ole Miss and Mississippi State?
Well, the question's maybe. The easy answer is to say, oh, come on, it's an FCS school. But maybe. Because if the staff is actually there, it's not out of the – I mean, guys jump from the FCS to the NFL all the time. It happens. So if you can get the talent there and you sell them on – Deion Sanders is your coach. Like, hypothetically speaking, Warren Sapp is your defensive line coach, maybe your defensive coordinator, who knows. You've got hopefully someone more qualified to actually call plays would be the defensive coordinator. But if you sell them on that and sell them on, look, we're going to have 30,000 people in the stands. We're going to get you ready. We know what it takes to get ready for the NFL. We'll get you there. We're going to railroad people on our way to national championships at the FCS level.
Right.
So we're going to win. We're going to have fun doing it. You're going to look even better because you're not going up against the same type of talent that you would if you were at Ole Miss or at Mississippi State or anywhere else in the SEC. So you're going to look better doing it, and maybe we can raise your stock. It's the sales pitch. I mean, I can write the pitch for them. It's just a matter of the individual homes and living rooms you're going to be sitting in. If I'm the let's say I'm the top defensive back in the country, do I want to go prove that in the SEC, or do I want to get coached by maybe the best defensive back ever?
Yeah.
Which is going to make me a better NFL player?
So what if you could do both? Because they play in the SAC, which is the Southwestern Athletic Conference. How many FBS teams are going to schedule Jackson State? Will Ole Miss and Mississippi State schedule? And why would you do that if they're able to bring in all these guys? Why risk that?
Why would you do it? Right, because it's a lose-lose proposition for you.
But I mean, let me ask you this: like Alabama is willing to schedule everybody
except for anyone in Alabama,
except for anybody in the state of Alabama. But literally, Nick Saban will play anybody on planet Earth that's as good as Bama or better. He wants 10 conference games. Why would he not schedule Jackson State?
Because it's a lose-lose proposition for anybody. If let's say Deion can get some of these top recruits, just some, give him a handful. So let's say he gets a handful of them. Then let's say he goes and beats one of these programs. Then he's getting more. Then he's getting a lot more. And not only have you paid Jackson State to come play, you paid him to come beat you, then you paid him to maybe take one of your recruits. Mm-hmm. It's a dangerous proposition to schedule Jackson State.
How long do you think Deion is there? Like, will he go win? I think he'll win quickly. Will he? And that's a good league. Grambling and all those guys are down there. All right, if he goes down there and he wins big in the first couple of years, you think there's an FBS team that says, no, I'll pay you?
Yes.
Because he doesn't need the money.
No, but he can recruit. If he can prove that he can win, can he get a better job? Absolutely. Because I promise you what he can do is recruit. So he can be the head of the program. He can be the face of the program. He can have name guys on his staff.
Yeah.
And then a couple guys that maybe aren't your Hall of Fame level guys, but are Hall of Fame level coordinators running the offense and running the defense. And you could say, listen, we're going to coach you. I can certainly sell you on coming to play for prime time and coming to play for whoever else is on my staff.
Right.
And now I've got guys who really know what they're doing calling plays. We can win.
Yeah, you think so?
That's the name of the game in college.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Don't fall out of your seat over there. Shadir's committed to FAU, right?
Yeah.
Where's his other son go to school?
He goes to school where you're wearing that visor.
South Carolina, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm saying that because it's Tuesday and I have a sore voice, and I figure why not, throw out a few stones and see what.
Uh-huh.
But I'm just saying, okay, so he can recruit. Well, that's what a lot of people are saying about Will right now. He can recruit. And if you recruit at Jackson State and you win big, it's because your guys, regardless of whether Deion can coach or not, it's because your guys are just better than all the guys you're playing against. There's no doubt about that. But everybody can recruit at the FBS level, especially in places like the SEC. So you got to be able to coach a little bit. But let's just look up in a couple of years and say, well, Prime Time's gone down there and won 19, 20 games at Jackson State, and his son's still at South Carolina, and there happens to be an opening. Is he throwing his name in the hat to come to Columbia and be the head coach? What would that mean?
First of all,
would you consider that? Should it be considered?
So you got to start with the first question again. Should it be considered has to first come to what type of recruits is Deion pulling into Jackson State? Because if he is out recruiting some SEC schools, and not top to bottom, right? He's not going to have a better roster top to bottom. But if he can get some of these 4 and 5 stars, just a couple, just a handful, and then he goes and wins, then if he takes a better job, he's getting more of those recruits. And absolutely, there are going to be programs that are looking at him because he's a name. He's a guy who can go out there and recruit because who wouldn't want to play for Deion Sanders and Terrell Owens and Warren Sapp and whoever? I'm just using these names because they were out there. There's no truth yet. But who wouldn't, if you're a top flight kid, Deion's already proven he can win and recruit here. Now Deion takes a job, let's say, at South Carolina. Now all of a sudden, not only are you getting coached by this all-star stud cast, you're also playing against guys, and you can prove how good you are and how good this staff has made you. I'm surprised Deion wants to be a coach. I mean, I know it's been happening now for a year or two with him trying to get into the game. So I guess I've kind of softened to understanding that he wants to be a coach. I don't know how well it works out. He needs to be, and this is not a slight on Dabo at all. Dabo Swinney is a hell of a football coach. He also has people in place that are very, very good at their job. That's the primary responsibility of any CEO, of any manager, is putting the right people in place around you. So can Deion call plays? I don't know. That would kind of surprise me. But can he hire people and make the right decisions so that as the manager, he puts everybody else in a position to win with the right hires? And then, I mean, then it becomes quite a story.
I'm just saying, somebody at the FBS level is going to end up taking a chance on him if he proves that he can do it at this level.
Yes.
It's coming sooner than later.
Yes.
It's coming sooner than later. I mean, even a place like Vanderbilt, who's like, look, we got nothing to lose. We've got nothing to lose.
I wonder about, I mean, when you're bringing in that brand, you're bringing in primetime, you're bringing in the guy who dances, you're bringing in the guy who worked at Barstool, you're bringing in the guy who, when he's on the set of a nationally televised program, he's still his jovial self.
Oh, he's still Deion. Yeah.
So there are plenty of schools that won't even entertain the idea because they don't.
You're right.
They don't want to touch it. They don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to have to put Deion on a leash and say, okay, you can do this, but you can't do that.
And see, that's
he's going to do what he wants to do.
And in Columbia, that's Coach Tanner. Coach Tanner won't deal with stuff like that. That's not what he does.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, somebody out there is going to look at it and say, this could be our moment where we're just going to take a really big leap here and let's see what happens. Who knows?
It would not surprise me in the least if we do see it from someone.
Oh, yeah.
Because look, it's a money game.
Hey, it might be Florida State.
Yes.
Might
yes. Yes.
You never know.
That seems to be
a
fit.
It. They need it.
That seems to be a fit for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that wouldn't, it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah.
Certainly wouldn't.
Do need to run to a break. Before we do, though, some of you may have seen this. Darren and I were not going to put this on our social media pages from the weekend. However, I did have this sent to me prior to the game. You may have seen it. The now viral video of Will Muschamp encouraging folks to get out of their seats. It was horsing around as they prepped one of the video montages that plays in Williams-Brice Stadium. And, of course, he said a very bad four-letter word in that. A lot of coaches say things like that day to day. You might not know that. He was asked about it. He said, I apologize to anyone who was offended. He is very much looking forward to finding out who leaked the video. And he also said before the game started, his mom called and got on him and said, I'm 90 years old, and my mom still called me about my language, so I won't be able to do that again. But have a little fun here on a rainy Tuesday afternoon.
So my first thought was this can't be real. Then I realized it was real.
Yeah.
And I know Will Muschamp is publicly saying, I'd like to know who released this video. And I'm not saying it was purposely done.
There's only so many people who could have released it. So.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's purposely done, but it also wouldn't surprise me in the least if it was purposely done.
Yeah.
Because, it fired you up. It fired up every Carolina fan that I know because text messages start flying. And people are like, let's go. I got the gif of Kool-Aid running through the wall. Like, I'm ready to run through the wall for this guy after that. Because that is the type of thing that can fire people up. And if you use it under the pretense of, sorry, totally a mistake, I have no idea how it got out there.
Yeah.
It can work. I'm not saying that's what happened.
Yeah, I don't.
But however it got out and why ever it got out, I can tell you it fired up the fan base.
Oh, it was neat to see.
There you go.
It was really cool.
I can tell you it worked. That's
was
what I can tell you.
Really, really cool till they lost. No doubt about that. All right, time for a timeout. The national anthem up next, and then on the other side of that is our friend Perry Orth. We'll get his thoughts on Colin Hill's performance against Tennessee and moving forward to the game in the Swamp. Hang tight. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. We'll be right back. The best cheesesteak in Charleston is at DB's Cheesesteaks. JB here. We say it every day, and we mean it. You voted for him. Let DB's Cheesesteaks in Avondale and West Ashley feed your family this football season. Use your favorite delivery app. Have them dropped off before your favorite game. And don't forget the boardwalk fries. They come with the Old Bay seasoning. DB'sCheesesteaks.com for the full menu. Hoagies, hot dogs, burgers, and more. DB's Cheesesteaks, the best cheesesteak in Charleston, the best cheesesteak for football.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
Hey guys, it's Darren, just here to tell you about our good friends over at Dog and Duck. They've got 3 locations, one in Bell Hall, one in Park West, and one, the new one, out on Clements Ferry. I can tell you from personal experience, it's the only restaurant in town that I've been to since this whole place has reopened. Everything is socially distant, very comfortable, and to top it all off, great selection of rotating craft beers, food specials every day, family meals. If you don't want to go in, you can order it and have some curbside pickup as well. Dog and Duck, 3 locations, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back 9 is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
All right, final hour here on a rainy Tuesday afternoon in the low country of South Carolina. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. That's Darren. I am Jamie. You can watch us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and you can listen on the Podbean app. That's all for free. JBandGoldwaterShow.com is where you can find us. You can find Perry Orth right there between us. He joins us now, the former quarterback at South Carolina. Hey, brother.
What's up, man? How are you?
Oh, yeah. I'm as good as you. We're both 0-1 to start the year.
Yeah? Yep. Not sure what to tell you, my man.
Sound like Coach Spurrier there.
Yep.
Look, Perry, what's that?
No, I was just gonna dive into it a little bit. I thought we didn't play too bad, really, just a few plays here and there, which, an above average team in college football, when you talk about the college football teams between the rankings of 8 and about 40 to 45, a lot of the teams are the same. A lot of the teams are going to play tight, one possession games here or there, especially early on in the season before confidence is withered. So, we were right there, had the opportunity to get the ball let back with a minute 30 left to make a play. You take away that fumble there on the punt. You take away the interception for a touchdown. Completely different ball game. And unfortunately could not get a stop and could not get a score when we needed to. And there you go.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're right. Colin Hill, though, was pretty good. Outside of the fact that I thought protection was poor, and I certainly want to get your take on that. But Perry, when watching him Saturday night, you could tell this guy's been through the fire a little bit. I guess 3 ACLs will do that to you. But he looked calm, cool, and collected. Your thoughts on him against the Vols?
Yeah, he looked great. Like you said, he's a veteran. I mean, he's played in big time games. He's got some arm talent. Our offensive line has got to protect better. He's not like some of the other quarterbacks that you've seen. Even Jake was sneaky athletic. Jake was going to be able to wiggle out of some things. Colin's not going to be able to. And so we've either got to get the ball out of his hand quicker, implement a few more RPOs, or simply pass protect better. I thought that at times we ran the ball well, but for the most part, especially in the pass game, we didn't really protect them very well. I would have liked to have seen a few more balls down the field, whether they're completed or not, just attempted. That it helps loosen the defense up. But honestly, offense did not play bad. I think it was over 400 yards of offense, which isn't a stellar day, but it still is not bad. I thought that we saw, what I saw on Saturday was what I expected as far as play calling, a ton of balance, good mix of run pass, a few screens in there as well. My only complaint would have been to try to throw it deeper, but I don't know exactly what Tennessee was playing, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know more than Coach Boba, because that's obviously not the case. Quarterback played well, very encouraged. We got to keep him healthy. There's no doubt about that.
Perry, let me ask you this. We're talking with Perry Orth. Jamie came on the show today, and he was saying, does this team know how to win? What's a sign from someone who has seen it? What's a sign that this team has figured out how to win, other than the obvious of winning? I mean, when you go to Florida, how can you judge progress? How can you judge when a team is turning that corner and understanding how to win a football game?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's almost one of those it factors, right? That you can't put a pen to paper and say this is the team's it factor. I think it's the later in the game you see the intensity of which teams play at. It's like, for instance, if you get a 2nd and 3 and you run the football, where you got 3rd and 1 and you're running a jet sweep to your best receiver and you don't get the first down. Teams that know how to win, they understand. And I know this is no knock on Shy that he was expecting. He thought that he had cleared the first down marker, but nonetheless, you want to make it so glaringly obvious that you had cleared the stick, that there's no gray area. He cleared it by at least a foot or at least a yard, so we'll give them a first down. Little stuff like that just goes in and out of the game, and then when you get the opportunity to get the ball back, you don't have a fumble on the punt. I know that the punt returner didn't drop it, but just the fact that there was somebody right there in the way to prohibit our guy from catching the ball, bumped into it, and there you go. So really little stuff like that is what I would say when teams really know how to win or know how to finish games. Yeah,
and Perry, and watching that ball game, on the offensive side of the football, I mean, it's clear that up front, they're really still searching. And I know Coach Muschamp just said that just a little while ago today in his press conference that they're going to continue to battle it out, and theoretically all positions up front right now are open, so we'll have to see what that looks like coming Saturday night. It was also pretty clear to me that, that is a concern at wide receiver. Shi Smith obviously was the guy. Mike Bobo clearly coming into the game was like, hey, look, how many times can we get our best playmaker out here, the football? And they certainly tried to do that a bunch, and they did a pretty good job of doing that as well. You got to remember there was a couple drops in there, and one of them came from Shi's hands. That one was returned to the end zone. The other, Nick Muse, and he said earlier today that was a great ball, and he just dropped it, or it would have been a first down. Carolina would have been marching to score there later in the ball game. But in saying all of that, look, I saw a couple guys who I feel like need more carries. I want to get your take on them. Zaquandre White and Deshaun Fenwick, they didn't block very well when White was in there, but he got his yards on his own. And Deshaun Fenwick, he looks like a spark. I mean, he caught the football out of the backfield. He ran it pretty well. And I know those guys didn't start, but your take on what you saw out of the two backup tailbacks and how much time they should expect to see this week against Florida.
Yeah, I spoke this offseason. It's going to be a running back room by committee. I thought all of them, even Kevin Harris, I thought ran the ball well. I wouldn't say any of them really didn't run it well. I think that because we got down, I know obviously we got up early, but then, we got down later in the game, so we started throwing it a bit more. But, I just talking about the running backs, you obviously you have to talk about the offensive line, and I just don't think that they run block very well either. I remember they pulled the guard. I think number 54, his last name is Gwynn, completely whiffed on his block, and it wasn't that this was a mistake. I mean, he kind of gave him like a flipper with his right arm and didn't square him up, and it just was kind of an alarming sight to see. It was so right in your face because the guy ended up making the tackle in the backfield. And it hurts your offense when stuff like that happens, especially I'm pretty sure it was a short yardage situation where you're expecting on 2nd and 3 or 4 to get 2 or 3 yards to either get a first down or, be 3rd and really short. So you can't miss stuff like that. And then with the running backs, I thought they all ran the ball well. They've got talent. Talent's there. The talent's not missing anymore. There's no more deficiencies. I'd say that we're thin at receiver, but these guys can run the football, and the way that we play and the way that I saw this game was called, this is a team that needs to stay ahead of it, right? We can't fall behind. We can't get down 21-7 and try to claw back into games every week. That's not what we're built for. That's not who we are. And so if we want to have any chance this weekend, we've got to be able to run the football well, and we've got to be able to try to find a way to limit their passing attack. And I don't think there's anybody in college football that can cover their tight end man-to-man. So it's going to have to be a bracket type or a zone coverage type day, which means we got to get pressure on the quarterback. If we don't do that, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah, we're going to get to that side of the football real quick here. But, to kind of summarize the offense a little bit, although it wasn't perfect, it wasn't the worst thing that we'd seen either. Finishing last year, Perry, those final 12 quarters of 2019, they scored exactly 1 touchdown, and that was against App State, and went for 2 afterwards and didn't get it. They didn't score 1 against A&M. They didn't score 1 against Clemson. They did score 3 on Saturday night against Tennessee, and all 3 of those drives were over 70 yards. So that is a sign of progress. They are moving things in the right direction, but unfortunately, when you've got 10 games against the Southeastern Conference, you're going to have to move a little bit more. We saw what happened in the league this weekend. There's a bunch of points being scored out there, Perry. What do you think the new threshold is in this conference? I mean, do you realistically, week in and week out, have to score 30-plus points to feel like you've got a chance?
You got to score at least 28. You're going to have to. Teams have had a longer opportunity to prepare for their opponents, which, it puts actually the favor on the offense when you have more time to prepare. There's a lot of good players. There's a lot of talented offensive weapons. There's a lot of good offensive minds that have moved now into the conference. You look at Florida, Dan Mullen. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, Mike Leach. That goes without saying. The staff at LSU, what they did last year, Alabama's always going to be elite on offense. You look at I can't speak for Vanderbilt, but I know that you look at Missouri getting the coach from App State, who's an offensive guy. So, I mean, you just go down the line. The SEC is known for its defense, but it's turning into an offensive conference. And so if we can't score at a high level, it's going to make for a difficult task. And we're going to need to score at least 28 this weekend.
Oh.
But offensively, I don't really have any complaints. You know, I mean, here and there, we didn't capitalize on some things.
Yeah.
That can be for game one. But, you know, going back to how can you tell the way teams, you know how to win or finish games? You know, like, for instance, that was a great point, bringing up the drop by the tight end. You got to catch the football, man. I get it. You're going to make mistakes, but make it in the first quarter, not in the fourth quarter when we need a catch. So stuff like that, I don't really know what to put a finger on. It just is one of those things that just really makes you say we're just unlucky. You know, just very unfortunate when you need a play, you know, nobody's making that play. You know, nobody's doing that little thing. Bobby Bowden used to talk about it all the time. You know, me growing up in Florida and as a Florida State fan, he used to say, you know, getting a team full of good players is great, but it's the teams that go off to win national championships and that are great teams have those 2 or 3 players that are elite, out of this world. You look at LSU last year, you look at Burrow and 2 receivers they had on offense. I mean, those were elite caliber players making differences on Sundays already in their first 2 games. So I just don't see any players that are like, wow, those guys right there, they're going to change the game.
You know, hoping to get Jalen Brooks eligible, we'll see. But seeing the problems we saw Saturday night with that offensive line, how much of a difference? And it's a moot point, so it doesn't matter. But how much of a difference would a Marshawn Lloyd have made?
Well, yeah, I think a big difference. Anytime that, you know, I haven't seen him play at the collegiate level yet, but he's a guy that you would think that is one of those 2 or 3 players. And getting him the ball out of the backfield in different ways is something that you'd hope that they would do. But, you know, at running back, you can only do so much. You got to have a crease at least, and I didn't see a whole lot of creases for the running backs on Saturday night. You know, they ran hard. I think they're talented kids, talented guys that really can make some things happen, but you got to give them some wiggle room to run the football.
Perry Orth's with us, and we began the show kind of feeding off of the sense of the fan base, of obviously frustration. There's pressure that is undeniable right now on the coaching staff. What was your feeling after the loss? What was your takeaway or maybe level of frustration?
Yeah, not so much, man. I don't get frustrated anymore. I want our school to do well. But I'm not going to lose a night of sleep over it. The one thing that I did see, man, is I saw the team, the offense did improve. I'm not saying it didn't. I just saw the same team. Same team as I did last year, the same team as I did the year before. They look the exact same. I mean, I don't really know how else more to elaborate on. I'm not saying that they'll win or lose, you know, or they'll go 4-8 or they'll go 9-4 or whatever, however many games we're supposed to play. But, you know, I'm just saying that the defense looks okay at times. Obviously, the one corner got picked on pretty bad the other night. Offensively, there was more balance. We moved the ball better, but we really did. I hope things can change and turn around. But, of course, we're hoping to get a few, you know, wins under our belt to get some confidence. But we don't, you know, playing a 10-game SEC schedule, you know, Vanderbilt, you'd like to say, okay, well, Vanderbilt and Missouri. Well, Vanderbilt went toe-to-toe with A&M at A&M Saturday night. You go from playing Tennessee to at number 4 in the country in Florida, and then you follow Vanderbilt with Georgia, Auburn, LSU, or Auburn, Georgia, however. I don't even know the order, but all I know is it's a freaking gauntlet and really no time to catch your breath. So we better figure it out in a hurry because it unfortunately does not get any easier.
Yeah, you're the second former player whom I respect a lot who said in the last 3 days since Saturday to me specifically, this team just looks similar, and I think, Perry, one of the things you're saying is a lot of these losses look pretty similar. I mean, we hear a lot of the same things after each one as well. If you had had this play or that play, or the ball would have bounced this way or that way, they would have won the game. But at some point in time, like Coach Spurrier was able to accomplish in his run, you got to start winning those games. The ball's just going to have to start bouncing your way. How does that work? And it hasn't been doing that. Let me ask you this though. As a former player, I mean, you saw a bunch of really good guys come in, and I know that there's this thought process sometimes, and I understand it, especially in this league, that you want to run with your older guys as much as you can because there is something to say about seniority in the SEC. Having said that, I thought Zach Pickens defensively last week had a really good game, and he's a former 5-star kid. And Jordan Burch didn't play a lot, but when he was in there, boy, he was really good. And we all know what we saw in J.J. Enagbare. That kid's a first-team All-SEC guy. If he keeps playing like that, he's off to the NFL quickly. But Burch and Pickens specifically, at what point in time, Perry, does athleticism take precedent over seniority when it comes to playing guys, especially in crucial games like we're about to see over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, you got to play the players, regardless of age, that give you the best opportunity to win. It really boils down to that. I mean, if you want to win games, you play the best player. From when I was there, I didn't think that age mattered. Obviously, they didn't have an issue switching Jake in for me. I don't think they'd have an issue with putting one of those younger guys in over, an older guy, or at least I'd hope not, and we don't know. Here's the thing is that these coaches, they only have practice film and practice play to judge performance. And they don't know if Jordan Burch isn't doing anything in practice and goes out in the game and starts balling out, how are they supposed to know how he's going to play? Now, I hope this week that he gets more opportunity to do that, but they can only judge based off what they see in practice. And hopefully after the game tape, we'll see a lot more of both of those guys because we need them. We need players that are going to make plays because, again, these games are looking and feeling the exact same way. It's, we were right there, but, well, eventually there's got to be an answer and somebody's got to be held accountable for the but. And I'm not saying that is a coaching staff. That goes for everybody in the organization. It's like in my job now, if I'm setting a bunch of meetings, but I'm not selling anything, that's great. But eventually you got to look and be like, okay, why are these deals not being closed? I've got them set up. I've got them teed up, but why am I not finishing? Somebody's doing something wrong. And so that's what they've got to do over there and look themselves in the mirror and say, what are we doing that is causing us to be in the fourth quarter and then run into the ball on the last play? Because that same thing happened my freshman year or my senior year at Carolina. We're playing Texas A&M 2016 at home. It was 21-13 with a few minutes left, and A&M punts the ball to us to get the ball back, and punt return drops the ball. A&M falls on it, kicks the field goal, wins by 11, game over.
Right.
Eventually this has got to stop. So I hope we get lucky and it stops this week. Unfortunately, I don't know if that's going to be the case, but you never know. I'm an optimistic guy, and I'm cheering for Will. Like Will a lot, like his family a lot. I'm cheering for him. I want him to do well, so I'm hopeful that we can turn this around.
All right, final question. What's it like to play in the Swamp?
Whew, great atmosphere, man. I grew up going not to a ton of games. I went to a few, being from Jacksonville, about an hour and 15 minutes away. It's a great environment. Unfortunately, there's going to be 20,000 people there. But it's a cool park. Obviously, there's a ton of history there with Tebow and Spurrier and Warfel and all the great teams they've had there. So it's not, again, this whole season, it's not going to be like a normal year, but they're gonna have a good time. And Florida's a good team. I don't think they're crazy elite, but I tell you what, that tight end is he's not from planet Earth.
No,
he's about to make himself a lot of fun here.
Oh, he is something to see. He's like a cross for me between like a Hayden Hurst and a Jared Cook. I mean, he reminds me of those two guys shoved into his body. I mean, it's just amazing. Amazing. Perry, thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate it. I wish we had better news for you this week, but you saw the same thing we did. It was a loss to open the 2020 season. Hopefully Carolina can pull off a miracle in the Swamp, and if we do, we'll celebrate together next Tuesday. If not, we'll do this again. Thank you so much. IMGSC.com. That's where you can find Perry Orth. He is in the insurance business. He's also in the quarterback business, and that's QB1 Athletics. So if you're a young up-and-comer and you want to go out there and learn the position, Perry can teach you down here in the Low Country. Bailey Hart, he's in charge of that division around here. And even if you're an old-school guy, if you're one of those guys that thinks you can still throw it over the mountains, he can probably get you back in it as well. QB1Athletics.com, IMGSC.com. Maybe go out there and learn how to be a quarterback, and then go ahead and insure yourself with Perry so when you fall down and break that hip, you're going to be in good shape.
Perfect plan.
Yeah.
Perry, I've got the high school league or high school game I got in town this week is Berkeley and Wando. You working with any quarterbacks from either of those?
I don't think so. I think Bailey's working with one of the kids from Berkeley. I know that'll be a really good game, or at least it should be historically. I don't know a ton about those teams.
No, neither do I yet.
But no, I know Berkeley's always got a lot of playmakers and a lot of talent. So we will see kind of what they got going on, and if they can produce. I know there have been a lot of. I'm pretty sure that's where Bruce Ellington and Andre Ellington are from, right? Berkeley.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Corner. A lot of talent from there, so it should be a good little ball game.
Yeah, very proud program.
Oh yeah.
At Berkeley, no doubt. Thanks, Perry. Have a great Tuesday, brother.
All right, man. Thanks for the call, guys.
There you go. Former quarterback at South Carolina, Perry Orth, 126 on this Tuesday afternoon there. And I thought, look, his comments were pretty honest. I think that's the way a lot of us feel.
And, all right, so from someone who has just been around down here, been around the fans, this is no secret. This is a Gamecock town. There are Clemson fans around, but it's a Gamecock town, and it has been since I've been here. Even though Perry said he's not losing sleep and, it's not like frustration's the right word, you can hear it in the voice.
Sure.
And there's a passion there. He played there. He loves the school, understandably, really likes Will Muschamp. But you can hear it in his voice, especially when he says it's just the same team, and then kind of how it tails off there at the end. Like, it's just the same thing I saw last year, same thing I saw the year before that. And those are the observations that are really hurting the fan base right now.
Yeah, you don't want apathy to set in.
Right.
And unfortunately, unless they go out and make a big splash, whether it starts this weekend or soon thereafter, that will happen, in year 5. And like I said, and I'm not going to name this other person at all, but I had a former player who was a very important piece of the puzzle under Coach Spurrier, very important piece, who sent me a message and said, I don't understand this. I'm seeing the same things over and over and over again. And it wasn't necessarily that the offense didn't click, because at times it did, and that was the first time we'd seen that in a while, so that was nice to see. It wasn't the fact that there isn't more talent on the field. It was the fact that the bad bounces continue to go Carolina's way.
Right.
And how do you fix that? I mean, why has that not been fixed? And I don't have the answers to that question, but in echoing what he had to say and what Perry just had to say, we all support Coach Muschamp, and I think everybody really wants it to work out. But they got to win games, and they didn't win on Saturday, and who knows? We know what the task is this weekend. Everybody knows what they're up against. Everybody knows, and so the good news for South Carolina is they have a different staff offensively. There is a guy there who can adjust the game plan, and that hasn't been the case in the last few years. But we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know that it's going to get any better over the next few days, and might be having these exact same conversations next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
And that is what is so troubling, because to have this sense and this cloud hanging over not just the fan base, because when this cloud starts hanging like this, it's hanging over that football office, and to have that cloud over the office, over that locker room, before you have to go play Florida, you just don't want to see, and there is concern on my end. You just don't want to see them go out and say, here we go, and watch one bad thing happen. And going back to what you said, learning how to win. One of the biggest parts of learning how to win is understanding that one bad thing isn't going to cost you.
Yeah.
But when you don't know how to win as a team, when that one bad thing happens, inevitably it's here we go. Here we go again. And I mean that thing could be an opening drive where you turn it over inside the 20, but you look good marching it down inside the 20 and you're feeling good, and then lost it. You lost a fumble, and then the positives from that drive are gone, and immediately into the mind goes, here we go.
Yeah.
And once that here we go mindset sets in, it's done. You can't come back from that here we go feeling sorry for yourself mindset. And that's what you want. That's what the team really has to guard against, that, because they're going to have bad moments in the swamp.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. And they got to stay away from that idea and instead think, damn, let's go.
Yeah.
You know?
They need some consistent energy. They need some excitement. And Perry said something as it pertains to the X's and O's. Will Muschamp's already said it, and so is Mike Bobo. Bobo apparently walked into his office Sunday morning, and it was the first one to say it. We need to take more shots. We've got to open this thing up a little bit, and maybe if you don't feel like the chains are on you so much and you're able to kind of get out there and fling it around and open things up and feel a little bit more free bird, it might work out for South Carolina. But they got to get to work. And, again, if you missed the news, Sherrod Green out 4 to 6 weeks. He's got a crack in the hip. That ain't good, especially when you're at linebacker, and still day-to-day for Izzy McQuamu. And Jamar Brown, no word yet still on Jalen Brooks.
I'll say this. David Cloninger, though, did put out on Twitter, good friend of the program, Post and Courier, Cloninger, that Izzy was bouncing around in practice, so it seemed like a good sign. So he's day-to-day, but eye test says it seems like a good sign.
Yeah, hopefully he continues to get better. They're going to need him this week against Kyle Trask and that group. All right, Friday night, holycitydrivein.com is where you can go to find showtimes, tickets, and much, much more. Friday night over at Patriots Point. Ghostbusters kicks off your weekend if you want to be a part of the Holy City Drive-In movie series. Back the truck in, order the food and the drinks, and enjoy a nice evening. And it will be a brisk one on the banks of the Cooper River this weekend over there in Mount Pleasant. But holycitydrivein.com for more on the weekend's drive-in movie series, and patriotspoint.org to be able to tour the museum, the Laffey, the Clamagore, the Vietnam War exhibit, and the USS Yorktown, which, by the way, I tweeted out their picture earlier today. They are filming a Hallmark Christmas movie right now, right this second, on the flight deck of the USS Yorktown.
How cool is that?
It's pretty neat. So looking forward to the Hallmark Christmas movies this year so we can see a little bit of Charleston in it.
I'm sure you are, because, I mean, Mr. Christmas over
I don't watch a lot of Hallmark Christmas movies, but I'll probably watch that one.
Yeah, you got to at least check it out. You got to check it out for the scenes of home.
Absolutely. I need to find out what the name of that movie is so we can look for it.
I don't know if it's been released.
It has been released.
It has?
But I can't remember what it is.
All right, we'll figure it out.
They released it like a month ago, and I can't remember what it is.
Okay.
But we can ask. I think we can get that answer.
Yeah.
All right, when we return, MLB postseason set to go in 28 minutes, folks. Plus, how about this? The Lady Gamecocks basketball, another top honor. And if you watch Lady Gamecocks basketball, you might want to know about this. Plus, Notre Dame, they've got some positive tests. We'll tell you how many and much, much more here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. Every 2020 Tiguan S, our best-selling third-row SUV, is $3,500 off plus 0 APR for 72 months. But wait, there's more. With $299 down, you can own the Tiguan S for just $299 per month for 72 months at 0% APR. Not just one at this price, over 22 Tiguans to choose from. All $3,500 off plus 0 APR for 72 months and $299 down, $299 per month. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, we are so desperate for used cars that we'll take any trade in any condition, running or not. We need your trade more, so we'll flat out give you more. And don't worry about your credit. Our lenders are more lenient than ever. So if you're interested in saving $3,500 on a new Volkswagen Tiguan S and owning it for $299 down, $299 per month, come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or StokesVW.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Plus tax tag includes $399.50 closing fee. Offer subject to lender approval. Expires month end.
DB's Cheesesteaks, the tastiest, juiciest, and now award-winning cheesesteaks in the Low Country. DB's Cheesesteaks delivers, and not just in quality. Download DoorDash, Uber Eats, or your delivery app of choice and have it dropped off at your doorstep. Original chicken, buffalo chicken, even pizza cheesesteaks, not to mention incredible cheeseburgers, massive hot dogs, and dynamite hoagies. It's all there for you and your family. DB's Cheesesteaks in West Ashley. dbscheesesteaks.com.
Hey guys, it's Darren, just here to tell you about our good friends over at Dog and Duck. They've got 3 locations, one in Bell Hall, one in Park West, and one, the new one, out on Clements Ferry. I can tell you from personal experience, it's the only restaurant in town that I've been to since this whole place has reopened. Everything is socially distant, very comfortable, and to top it all off, great selection of rotating craft beers, food specials every day, family meals. If you don't want to go in, you can order it and have some curbside pickup as well. Dog and Duck, 3 locations, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
The JB and Goldwater Show.
That's us. Because we play this.
And there are these guys in a band on stage bouncing on trampolines, and one of them is playing a vacuum cleaner on his face. It was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. This band was going for it as hard as they could. I've never seen anything like it. And I said to the bartender, I said, who is this band? Oh, this is a band from New Hampshire called Fish.
All right, 1:35. Welcome back to JB and Goldwater Show. Dreary Tuesday afternoon, but more rain moving in this evening. Be careful out there.
That's why I played this bump. I wanted to hear this song.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Get me
song.
back in the mood.
Maybe the Blue Dogs can drive you around town this afternoon after our program is over. All right, a couple COVID notes here on the college side of things. Notre Dame's latest round of testing yielded 18 positive results. The team said that those positives came from a round of 273 tests that were conducted between last Tuesday and this past Saturday. 18 players are in isolation, and of those 18, 7 were already in quarantine as previously identified close contacts, which would be, of course, contact tracing. As of Monday, Notre Dame has 25 players currently in isolation and 14 others in quarantine.
So they're off this week.
That's 39. Yeah, they're not playing this week. They have been paused for quite some time. And, of course, they postponed their game against Wake Forest, which was scheduled for this past Saturday. That decision after just 7 players had tested positive. The Irish will play next weekend, October the 10th, against Florida State.
And the fact that those numbers are where they are, it makes me question if they can get to that game as well.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I would think another 7 days or so would probably be ample time to get a better response on that.
Yeah, for some of them. The ones who had been quarantined already for contact tracing, then they test positive. They've already been separated, so their timeline is shorter.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a big number.
Florida State's going, please don't play. Please don't play. Please don't play.
One less loss. I don't know if it'll be made up, just one less loss.
Please don't play. Please don't play. Also in the NFL, the Titans and the Vikings, they have both shut down team activities. The Titans won't even be allowed in their own building until at least Saturday. Everything will be done remotely. And we'll kind of have to see where this goes. I think this is the first real case of this in the NFL. I haven't seen anything prior to.
Nope. This is the very first, I guess outbreak is a fine way to put it, but the first one that the NFL has seen in 3 weeks. Yeah, it's 3 weeks.
Yeah, so there's some concerns about their upcoming game on Saturday. And, there's obviously concerns with the Vikings as well, but we'll probably have to keep our eyes on this. I know they say that there have been several positive tests. I think it was 8 in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Only 3 are players.
Yep.
5 are personnel. But
Yep.
It doesn't matter. They're all around each other, so they're going to close it down and try to figure out what in the world's going on moving forward. Minnesota, of course, played Tennessee this weekend, so they're going to shut it down out of an abundance of precaution, but I have not seen any positives come out of Minnesota. However, contact tracing, the league's contact tracing protocols, has reportedly identified 48 people who are considered, quote, close contact with the 8 who tested positive. The Vikings will not return to their facilities until all results are in. So hopefully those 48 are in the clear, but we don't know yet.
Right.
So that's not good.
No, but look, we knew this was going to happen. We've seen how the college game adjusts. We've seen how Major League Baseball adjusts.
They'll come back.
Yes, they will. I'm sure there's a plan in place for when teams inevitably will miss games, have some games postponed.
Yep.
We knew this was going to happen.
Yep.
You just hope
Hey, look,
it's not some rampant thing.
The NBA had 13 months to play the rest of their season. The NFL can take all the damn time they want to.
That's true.
Okay? Whatever. Do it as long as you want to. The NBA doesn't care. They're just going on and doing whatever they want to. South Carolina's Lady Gamecocks basketball program has the top-ranked recruiting class in the country again, only 2 years removed from their first one. Now, it's number one in 2021. Their highest-ranked commitment is point guard Raven Johnson, the second-ranked player in the country. They also have commitments from the third and fourth-ranked players in the country and guard Aubriana Hall. She's ranked 14th overall. They are number one over North Carolina. UConn checks in at number 3. So Don Staley continues to do what Don Staley does, and that is recruit the top talent in the sport, and South Carolina is going to be really good again.
I'm one who thinks in all sports the South Carolina-North Carolina game should be a rivalry played every year.
I've said that for a long time. I really think that they should play in baseball and in basketball.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard to always, because you only have 12 in football, and I get that, but I'd like to see more of an effort, even with the loss last year. I'd still like to see more of an effort to have that game played consistently. I agree.
Look, the Panthers are claiming both Carolinas as their own, so why not just play them?
Yeah, give me a break. On
I
that,
agree.
right?
I agree with that thought. Yes.
But yes, I totally understand what you're saying. Baseball set to go in less than 20 minutes, folks. Major League Baseball's 2020 postseason will be played after only 60 games in the regular season. The first game on tap today, Houston and Minnesota, the 6th-seeded Astros and the 3rd-seeded Minnesota Twins on ABC. It'll be followed up at 3 on ESPN by the 7th-seeded Chicago White Sox and Oakland, of course, as the 2nd seed. And then at 5 o'clock, the top-seeded Tampa Bay Rays. What a time to be a Tampa fan.
That's right.
They've got Toronto as the 8th seed, on TBS. And then the nightcap at 7 on ESPN is Cleveland and New York. The Yankees are, of course, the 5th seed there. And the National League will get started tomorrow. The first game is Atlanta and Cincinnati. Darren, what are you most excited about in today's slate?
The Rays. The Rays. They're deep on the hill. I'd like to see them get off to a good start. I'm on the Rays bandwagon. I'm on the Rays and Padres bandwagon. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone that's been listening to this show. It's also a unique postseason. Number one, we've never seen 16 teams in the postseason before. So I put together this little thing. I think the Braves are the ones who actually put it out. Kind of a what you need to know. So the wild card series is best of 3. We know that. There are no off days, which puts a strain on the arms. The division series are best of 5, NLCS, ALCS, also best of 7. The 3-batter minimum remains in effect. I don't think I heard a whole lot of grumbling about that this year, even though we heard a lot about some of the other rule changes, like the runner on second in extra innings and the 7-inning doubleheaders. But that rule change...
You won't have 7-inning doubleheaders in the postseason.
No. You're not going to have very many doubleheaders at all in the postseason.
Oh, you won't
anyway.
have any.
And the DH, obviously, you're going to see it in every ballpark because it's been universal this year. So that is also, I guess, somewhat interesting. Roster limits are 28. So
yeah, and remember this first round, these are best of 3.
Yes.
These are best of 3. And, we'll see how that shakes out for Atlanta because they feel like they've got 3 starters now.
They've lost 10 straight postseason series?
Yeah. That will end, though. I think they beat Cincinnati.
For your sake, I hope so.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, look, it's not the end of the world for me, but I do think that they beat Cincinnati.
Well, yeah.
And they move on.
But for all the Braves faithful, I mean,
how about South Florida though? I mean, think about this for a second. All right, the Dolphins have some hope.
Okay.
Miami football at this point appears to be headed in the right direction.
Yes.
The Marlins are in the postseason. The Lightning won the Stanley Cup last night. The Tampa Bay Rays are the top seed in the American League. Tom Brady is the quarterback of the Bucks. What's going on in South Florida?
I don't know. It's so weird, right? Because the Rays don't generally draw very well. They only draw for big games. Same with the Marlins. They don't draw well. It's not a mecca for sports, but it's become that this year, at least for quality of sports. The Lightning have always done pretty well. The Lightning have always drawn well. So they win that cup last night. I have friends down in the area, so they were already celebrating. My mom lives right outside of Tampa. I've flown in and out of Tampa.
Yeah, I've been to Tampa for a bunch of Outback Bowls.
Yeah. So, good for them. It's strange to see Florida being the center of the sports universe. It just doesn't happen.
No, not unless it's in Gainesville.
Yeah,
generally.
But I mean, to throw the Bucks in there and to throw the Marlins in there, and now the Hurricanes all of a sudden are good again. It's strange.
Yeah.
We haven't seen Florida as the center of the sports world in a long time.
Yeah. It's pretty neat to watch. We'll see what it looks like. Obviously, the Lightning have gotten them off to a nice start here.
Yep.
Real quick, here are the matchups today. Grinke and Maeda in that Minnesota Twins ball game. I like Grinke in that one.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Luzardo goes for Oakland, and Lucas Giolito with the White Sox. Matt Shoemaker and Blake Snell for Tampa and Toronto. Like Snell there. And Garrett Cole and Justin's brother, Shane Bieber, for Cleveland, between New York and Cleveland. Give me Bieber in that one. I don't like Cole on the road there.
No, that's a hell of a matchup there, Cole and Bieber.
Yeah.
There was a prop bet I saw. Will Garrett Cole still be pitching when the presidential debate starts? Will he still be in the game when and I don't know when the debate starts. I know when the game starts.
I think 9 o'clock. I think 9.
All right. So can he? So is he going to make it into
9.
say the 6th? Is Garrett Cole going to make it into about the 6th?
Yeah,
probably.
He will.
Probably.
He will.
Mhm.
Yeah, he'll be in there. But Justin Bieber's brother Shane, he'll be in there a little bit longer. He'll win it.
Yeah, and then he'll take the AL Cy Young as well.
Yeah. I like him tonight, no doubt. Trevor Bauer, by the way, tomorrow will match up against Max Fried in that Cincy Atlanta ball game, which will start right when we start at noon. So certainly looking forward to keeping up with that one while we are on the air. 843-321-8893. 843-321-8893 is our phone number, and you can give us a shout or send us a text if you'd like to. I tell you what, look, every once in a while around here, I call out, quote, media members who aren't really media members.
Yeah.
This one, I'm not calling this gentleman out because he's been in this state for a long time, and I respect the hell out of him. Whether you like his work or not, it doesn't matter. He's been doing it a long time, and he is a good man. But Muschamp wasn't happy with him today. Phil Kornblut, he was the one who asked Will Muschamp about that viral video, and he said, quote, "This is Muschamp's response. Seriously, how did we know you were going to ask that? Tiger Phil strikes again," end quote. That's what Will had to say to Phil. And then, of course, he'd go on to say, I'm 49 years old. My mom had to call me before the game and get on me about it. But, yeah, he didn't like that very much.
Okay, that says a lot more about the state of the program as we take this whole conversation on this show full circle. The fact that Muschamp reacted that way to that question tells me there is frustration there, because there isn't a person I have talked to, Gamecock fan or not, or parent or not, that was offended by that video.
No.
So
when I sent it to you before the ball game, I sent it to probably 10 people. You're one of them. And everybody asked the same question. Is this real?
Right.
And where I got it from, I knew it was real. Who sent it to me, I was like, oh. So, and it was real.
It was.
And everybody that watched it was like, this is great.
Right. So there's been no negative feedback about it at all, other than, sorry, I wish it hadn't been leaked.
Right.
And to jump on one of the more respected guys in this industry, particularly down in South Carolina, for asking that question tells me that there is a lot of pressure, that he is feeling that pressure, because that's not a response that is worthy of that question at all.
No, well, and I'll say this too, and I'm not this isn't me like defending Coach Muschamp or anything like that. I've seen a few of these things. Phil has a knack for kind of coming out of left field with certain things at certain times when you're like, and he did it to Steve too, and Steve didn't like it either. So, but I've always given Phil credit, and he should get credit. He will ask questions. Now, that question has no bearing on this football program.
No.
I mean, it has no bearing on the game or this week's game or anything. So, if I was Will, I can't say I wouldn't have responded differently either, because when you get that type of wording, Tiger Phil strikes again, there's a reason why some people say stuff like that. If you go back and look at him over the years and some of the things he asked, you're like, oh, come on, man. Because I've said the same things. But I still respect him.
I like Phil. Phil and I have known each other for a long time.
Yeah. Phil's a good guy, man.
Yep, he was definitely one who helped me as soon as I got into the business down here too. And there's nothing wrong.
And he cares about the high school kids.
He does. He cares, and he cares about the work that he's doing, and he does a damn good job. There's a reason his program's been on as long as it is, and it takes something that not a lot of people have to ask certain questions that make people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's not meaning that the question shouldn't be asked.
Dabo got asked one today.
Yeah. A lot of times the question should be asked, but there is some trepidation in how is it going to be received? Is this a fair question? Most of the time, the answer is it's a fair question. It's a press conference. You can ask the question. Mm-hmm. You can ask the question that is surrounding some of the current topics of conversation. You can ask that question, and if the person on the receiving end of the question doesn't like the question, that's sorry. You're in that position, and you have to answer these questions. Yeah. And Phil's as professional as it comes, and if he asks hard questions sometimes and gets that reputation, okay. But a lot of times, in order to get the answers you need and to find out the information you need, you got to ask those questions.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess my question with this is because he was the one who asked the question about that apparent fight that happened and this, that, and the other, and Muschamp said, no, there's nothing coming of that. And there was people in this state who I know, if there was really more to that story, would have been all over. And we know exactly who they are. We've had them on our program, and they said there was no follow-up. And Phil came out of left field with that question too. But that's okay because it was let me make sure that there's nothing else going on here. This one, I mean, who cares?
Yeah. And even with that,
what is your response? I would have been my response is, that's what I said. So, I don't like that the video got out. Who the hell leaked it? I need to find out who did that, but who cares? What does that have to do with anything?
Look, outtakes are outtakes. There are some really, really funny outtakes, and there are some in my closet that are really, really funny outtakes.
No doubt.
It can get out at times.
I want to know who did leak that.
So
you know what I mean? Who leaked that? Come on, man. Because it wasn't Justin and it wasn't Will.
It definitely was not Justin, and it definitely was not Will. Yeah. But I go back to what
somebody
I said.
Somebody in the media team.
I go back to what I said before. I'm not gonna sit here and say definitely not Steve. I'm not gonna sit here and say that it was intentionally leaked. However, if it comes out that it actually was, and this isn't a big deal, so this should be the end of it, and it shouldn't come out. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was intentionally done because of the reaction of the fan base. And it's a predictable reaction. Once I realized that it was actually him, of course I knew that every Gamecock fan I knew, and there's a lot of them, I knew every one of them would love that thing.
Yeah.
And I promise you there wasn't a Gamecock fan who didn't.
No.
It fires you up.
It was inspiring.
Yes.
It was oh, wait, there's some fight in this team.
Yes. Ready to run through that brick wall. It's not the worst thing that got out.
No.
It's really it doesn't
No.
And but again, his reaction of not appreciating the question. I mean, another way to have answered that question would have been to just laugh it off.
I want to go back and
not care.
I wish I was on the Zoom. I want to go back and watch the tone of it because I can tell when Will's pissed off and when he's not pissed off. If he said it, you could tell if he said it tongue in cheek. From what I'm seeing, he didn't like the question, but sometimes too, some people say that's not necessarily true. It might have been how'd I know you were going to ask that?
Right. And he could have been joking.
And it was a half-hearted joke.
Joking with Phil back and forth. Yeah. That's possible.
I mean, it's not like they don't talk.
No.
You know, I mean, they clearly have a relationship. All right, real quick here. Let me get you some weekend lines. This South Carolina-Florida line is coming down, and it's come down a bunch.
It was at 18 yesterday.
Yeah, it actually, my bookie opened up at 18.5, and now it's down to 17.5.
Mm-hmm.
And there are others that opened even higher, 21, 21.5. Those have come down too. So I think that, there was a little bit of these guys in Vegas know what they're doing, man. And I think we would all like to hope that Florida is not a 3 touchdown. It's not 3 touchdowns better than South Carolina. They hope that's for sure. But it is coming down. I'm interested to see where this rests. It probably won't get much lower than that, maybe 17. But Still a big number, but that is certainly interesting. I'll tell you what else is interesting. And I know this isn't a big game on the national scene, but Georgia State and East Carolina, Georgia State's a 1-point favorite against Mike Houston and his Pirates. Over under 69.5. Expecting a lot of points in that one. That's crazy.
I watched a good bit of the ECU UCF game, and they were in it. ECU was in it for a little. They do have offensive weapons. It's not a defensive team that Mike Houston is going to write home about yet.
Right.
He's going to get them there. I mean, if you don't believe Mike Houston's going to have this team around the top of the league and soon, you're wrong. So he'll get them there, and I would expect they improve as the year goes along as well. But defensively, and granted, UCF is talented on offense.
Mm-hmm.
They had issues defensively.
Let me give you a couple others quickly in the SEC here. Auburn, 6.5-point dogs only on the road at Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Which I actually that's really interesting because JT Daniels is cleared, and I think he will play, but I want to see how he plays because DeJuan Mathis was not the answer to start the game the other day. It had to be Stetson Bennett, the walk-on that came in. But how about this one? You've got Missouri and Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee is an 11.5-point favorite. And there is every fiber in my body saying that they're 2 touchdowns better than Missouri, if not more.
The fact that Alabama didn't just house Missouri, I think, has people more apt to say maybe they're a little bit better. But really, if you think about it, against like competition, so not FCS opponents and not bye games, early in the year, Alabama doesn't generally run up 60. They're gonna enforce their will. They're gonna get on top comfortably, and they'll pull off the gas a little bit, particularly early in the year against light competition that isn't nationally relevant. So it's not the LSU game. It's not, this is when they're going to win comfortably. They got ahead comfortably and eased off there a little bit.
Yeah. One final one here. Clemson, 28 points better than Virginia this weekend. Last time they saw each other, it was the ACC championship game. And it was 62-17. I know that's a huge number, but if I was a betting man, I'll be honest with you, I'd take Clemson.
I will. I'll stay away from that. I will stay away from Georgia and Auburn because I just don't know. What Georgia will look like. I would expect Daniels to have them looking significantly better. I texted you during the Auburn game last week or a couple days ago, and I said, "Look, Bo Nix, I know he had a good year last year. I know he doesn't throw picks. I think he actually is the second longest streak behind Trevor Lawrence of consecutive throws without an interception right now. But I'm not sold, so I stay away from that one. The one that is very intriguing to me is Oklahoma, Iowa State. As of last check, Oklahoma was a 6.5-point favorite over Iowa State.
7.5 now.
It's okay?
It's up.
I knew I should have jumped on that yesterday.
Yeah.
7.5 is still low. I think Oklahoma could win that game by 20. Oklahoma is not going to be happy. I would expect Oklahoma to have no issues at all with Iowa State.
Real quick before we run here, what day is it? The handy-dandy National Day calendar, everybody's favorite segment. It is National VFW Day.
All right.
If you've ever hung out at a VFW, you can hear some things in there you'll never forget. That's for sure. And I always need at least 2 cups in the morning. It is National Coffee Day as well.
There you go.
National Coffee Day today. Happy National VFW Day. Happy National Coffee Day. There are 5 days tomorrow. All right. That's interesting.
My hope tomorrow is that I don't have the technical difficulties that I have with this computer today, which weren't really glaring. Probably didn't notice many of them, but I did, and they annoyed the living heck out of me.
That's okay. That's all right. That is all but it for us around here today. We will have J.C. Sherbert tomorrow from Chicago, Illinois.
Oh, unless he was coming down south, wasn't he?
Came down for the weekend.
All right, and he went back.
That's what I hear.
I mean, once you get free, you're going to go back into isolation.
What he says. We'll see. Obviously, plenty to talk about with him, with the Gamecocks, and the SEC, and the rest of the college football world. Thanks to Perry Orth for joining us today, certainly. Be careful out there. Bad weather coming through the low country later on and throughout many parts of the state of South Carolina. And until then, for Darren Goldwater and for myself, thank you for watching and listening. Have a terrific Tuesday afternoon. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.